Hello, dear people. The Vietnam War will be remembered for a long time. The night the jungle took the men, the secret account of a Soviet engineer's encounter with a UFO in Vietnam in 2004. An account appeared in the public domain that never found its way into the mainstream media. It was published under a pseudonym, and the author's identity remained hidden, which already at the time raised doubts as to whether it was a documentary testimony or a cleverly crafted hoax. Naturally, the author would have remained anonymous. Most likely, he was a Russian citizen who had fled the USSR, afraid for his own life and the lives of his loved ones. The KGB did not forgive. Nevertheless, the story has survived over the years and continues to trouble researchers of the unexplained because it contains far too many details that would be difficult to invent by chance. The events took place in the summer of 1968, at the height of the Vietnam War. In the northern province of Lap Cat, not far from the small village of Danyan, a group of Soviet engineers and hydrologists were conducting a preliminary survey for the construction of a hydroelectric power plant. The area was remote, with no military installations and no strategic importance, so American aircraft rarely appeared over the jungle. This created an illusion of relative safety, which, however, would be destroyed in a single night. Shortly after midnight, the camp was shaken by a low, deep rumble that resembled neither an aircraft nor artillery. Suddenly awakened, the engineers emerged from their tents, expecting to see the silhouette of a strategic bomber. Instead, a strange object appeared in the cloudy sky. It did not seem to fly, but rather floated through the air, without noise, without lights, and without any visible means of propulsion. Only seconds later, a fiery object resembling a comet descended from above. The two bodies came into contact, followed by a blinding flash and a shock wave that threw the men to the ground, tore apart the tents, and scattered the equipment. No one was killed, but the sensation was as though a weapon of enormous destructive power had been used nearby. The radios stopped working, and only a dull, steady crackling remained on the airwaves. The following morning, communication with the central base was restored and the incident was reported. The response was brief and vague. They promised to forward the information to the appropriate authorities. The engineers visited the nearby village, but found no signs of an explosion or panic there. The local people were convinced that there had been a storm during the night and nothing more. The real shock came 2 days later. About 500 meters from the camp, the group discovered a strange object, a black sphere approximately 3 meters in diameter, half buried in the ground. Its surface was completely matte, absorbing light. It did not reflect the sunlight and did not cast a shadow, as if the laws of physics around it had been distorted. It was cold and slippery to the touch, and attempts to scratch it with a high-quality steel knife produced no result whatsoever. After another report was sent to the base, the response was categorical. All current assignments were to be suspended. Security was organized around the object, and no one was to approach within 20 meters of it. Any attempt to make contact, open, or examine it was prohibited. A special unit was expected to arrive. As night fell, the security became almost symbolic. In the darkness, The black sphere seemed to dissolve into space. The men gathered around a weak fire, not to keep warm, but to calm themselves. They were armed, but the weapons offered no comfort. A feeling of being watched settled over the jungle, a sense of an alien presence that could not be seen, but could be felt in every cell of the body. Later, Boris Ivanov, the only survivor, would write in his diary that the fear did not come from the darkness, but from the feeling that something had already chosen. First, the youngest member of the group disappeared. He entered the bushes and never returned. After him, a second man followed the same path, moving unnaturally slowly, as if he were in a trance. The third resisted, but his body refused to obey him. Left alone, two men realized that it was only a matter of time. When the last of them stood up and headed toward the darkness, Boris gathered his strength for a desperate act. He shot himself in the leg and lost consciousness from the pain and blood loss. That was what saved him. In the morning, the special unit arrived. They found him alive beside the almost extinguished fire. The black sphere was gone. So were the other members of the group. There were no signs of a struggle, no bodies, and no explanation. Boris Ivanov was convinced that what they had discovered was an extraterrestrial probe, damaged or shot down during military operations. According to him, the object managed to repair itself and leave Earth, but not before taking human specimens with it. Whether it was an abduction, an experiment, or something even darker, he refused to speculate. Some questions, he said, should never be answered. The northern province of Lapcat does not exist as an official administrative division in Vietnam, either today or during the war. It is believed that the name is a transcription or deliberately altered designation used in Soviet documents and memoirs to conceal the exact location. Based on the description of the terrain, climate, and access, the location was most likely somewhere in the mountainous and jungle regions of northern Vietnam, near what are now the provinces of Lai Chau, Lao Cai, or Ajiang, regions that at the time were poorly mapped, difficult to access, and often used for secret surveys and military operations. The village of Danyan likewise does not appear on official maps, and was most likely a local name, a temporary camp, or a deliberately changed name intended to spread disinformation. This is entirely consistent with the Soviet practice during the 1960s of using false or distorted place names, particularly when dealing with sensitive incidents.